The stars in Sector 9 looked peaceful from a distance. Blue suns blinked slowly, and the void of space stretched in every direction. But Captain Wren knew something was wrong. His ship, Talon Spear, had picked up strange signals for 3 days. They came from the edge of the sector, near the planet Yellow. Wren stood on the command deck. His sharp eyes stared at the large screen ahead, where a red light blinked slowly. Behind him, his crew worked in silence. The crew was made up of humans. Trained and hardened, they trusted their captain. Wren had led them through many battles. He had a calm voice and a quiet way of giving orders, but everyone knew he was always ready. Lieutenant Mara, the ship's sensor officer, turned her chair and spoke. Captain, the signal is growing stronger. No source, no code, just static. And movement. Wren nodded once. Keep recording. Mark every change. Use deep scan if needed. The other officers listened. Wren did not speak much, but when he did, they listened carefully. A few hours later, Wren sat in the small comms room. He sent a full report to the Galactic Council. He shared the recordings, sensor readings, and his thoughts. His message was simple. He believed the planet Yellow was in danger. He believed unknown ships were moving in that direction, and he believed they had no peaceful goal. But the reply from the Council came quickly. It was cold and short. Captain Wren, Sector 9 is calm. The Valari species on Yellow are peaceful and protected. Your concern is noted. No action is needed at this time. Wren stared at the screen for a few seconds. Then he deleted the message and walked back to the bridge. We moved toward Yellow, quiet and fast. No alert to the Council. This is not about rules anymore. This is about doing what's right. The crew gave a silent nod. They had served under Wren for years. They knew his judgment was never wrong. The Valari were an old race, soft-spoken and peaceful. They had no army and no space fleet. They lived in large forest cities on the surface of Yellow. They loved art, music, and silence. Most other species like the Valari, even though they stayed away from politics and war. But they had no defense. That was the problem. As the Talon Spear entered orbit around Yellow, they saw nothing at first. No enemy ships, no sound, just the calm blue surface of the planet. But Mara's scans picked something strange. Captain, we have energy readings near the dark side of the planet. Faint and deep underground. Nothing natural. Any ships? Not yet. But these signals match what we saw in Sector 9. Almost exactly. Wren gave his order. Prep a ground team. I'm going down. Mara stood up. Sir, we don't have clearance from the Council. I don't care. If we wait for them, we'll be too late. Let's move. The dropship flew low over the forests. The trees on Yellow stretched high into the clouds. Silver leaves shimmered under the soft light of the sky. The air was clean, and birds flew in quiet patterns above. But the ground told a different story. Signs of damage, cracked stone paths, broken lights, and no sign of the Valari. The team landed near one of the forest cities. Wren stepped out with 5 soldiers. They moved with caution, weapons ready but pointed down. They were not here to fight. They were here to find answers. Inside the city, they found empty homes, food left on tables, tools dropped in the streets. It was like the people had vanished in one moment. No signs of struggle, but also no escape. Then Wren noticed something, a strange mark on a wall. A black smear, shaped like a hand but with long fingers. It looked burnt into the stone. What is this? Mara whispered. Wren touched it with a scanner. No heat, no energy, just a trace of something unknown. Something not living and not machine. Keep eyes open. Stay close. As they moved deeper, they finally found someone. A small Valari child sat behind a broken statue, her eyes wide, her body shaking. When she saw the humans, she tried to run, but she was too weak. Wren knelt beside her and spoke softly. You're safe now. We're not here to hurt you. The girl looked up, confused. Then she whispered one word, shadows. That was all she could say before fainting. Wren carried her back to the ship. They gave her water, food, and rest. When she woke up again, she told them Moresh said black shadows came from the ground. They had no faces. They made no sound. They walked through walls and took people away. No one could stop them. They came at night and left before morning. Ren looked at his crew. Their faces were hard now. No more doubt. This was real. He made his call. We're staying. We're protecting these people. If no one else will help, then we will. The humans started building shelters and sensors. They set guards at night. They sent more messages to nearby human ships. One ship answered right away and promised to come. Others were on the way. The Villari girl, whose name was Luma, stayed near Ren. She had lost her family, but she found safety. Near the humans, they call us monsters, Mara said one night, looking at the dark sky above. But look at us now. We're the only ones standing between these people and the real monsters. Ren said nothing. He just kept watching the stars, because deep out there, in the silence between suns, something was coming closer, and they would be ready. Darkness covered the sky above yellow as the second night fell. The forest was silent. No wind moved at all. Silver trees. No animals made sound. It was the quiet. Captain Ren stood on the edge of the forest city. His helmet was off, and he looked up at the stars. He felt it deep in his chest. The enemy was near. They were not loud. They did not flash weapons. But they were coming behind him. The humans had set up strong lights around the camp. They had placed scanners at every tree line. Small drones floated. Above, watching the shadows, soldiers stood in armor, ready but calm inside the camp. The rescued Villari stayed close together. Many were still in shock. Some were children. Others were elders. The humans gave them blankets, food, and warm words. The Villari had never seen humans before this. They had only heard stories. Stories that said Deathworlders were cold, violent, and feared across space. But now, these so-called monsters were their only shield. Lieutenant Mara checked the scanners again. The readings were strange. She saw movement, but no heat, no sound. Just cold shapes sliding across the forest floor. Captain, they're here, she said firmly. Ren gave a simple nod. Hold formation. No firing unless I say. The soldiers held their positions. Their visors glowed in the dark. The lights flickered on Sethan. The shadows. Kamathy did not walk. They floated, tall and thin. No legs, no face. Just black forms moving forward like smoke that had learned to think. When the lights hit them, they bent the glow, twisting it away. They made no sound. Not even when they passed over branches or ground. Villari inside the camp cried out. Some tried to hide. Others stared in fear. Luma, the little girl Ren had rescued, clutched his leg. Don't let them take me, she whispered. You're safe here, Ren answered at first. Shadow reached the edge of the camp. It touched the force barrier. The energy field sparked and pushed it back. But it came again, pressing harder. 2 more joined it, then 5, then 10, all around the camp. Shadows gathered. Mara called out. They're testing the field, looking for a weak spot. One of the drones flew lower to scan them. A shadow reached up. In one smooth motion, it touched the drone and pulled it into itself. The drone blinked once, then vanished. Nothing remained there. Absorbing tech. Mars Sadrin didn't wait. He tapped his comm backline. Get ready to boost field strength. Frontline, lock aim, but hold fire. We don't know what draws them closer. The next are felt slow. The shadows pushed again and again. But they never rushed, never screamed. They just moved. Silent and patient, like they had all the time in the world. Own soldier, Private Deeren, lost his nerve. He fired early. A beam of light hit one shadow directly. It paused for 1 second, then twisted and changed shape. It moved toward the source fast. Deeren, fall back. Ren ordered and ran. But the shadow moved faster. It reached the barrier. Just as he crossed it, the field sparked hard. This time, the shadow was thrown back. It hit a tree and melted into the ground. For a moment, the shadows stopped. The forest was quiet again. Did we stop them? Mara asked. No, Ren answered. They're thinking. That was the scariest part. These things were not wild beasts. They were smart. They tested, waited, and adapted. Ren looked up. He saw something new in the sky. Shapes, darker than the stars. Ship's new contacts above. Mara shouted. They came out of nothing. No warp signal. No drive trace. Just appeared. How many? 6 ships, big ones, and cold. No life forms inside were understood now. The shadows were not just creatures. They were part of something larger, machines or weapons. Maybe both. Tell the fleet. We have company above. No action yet, just watch. The Terran fleet in orbit received the message. The other two human ships, Iron Lance and Storm Nest, moved into closer orbit. They powered up weapons but held fire. Like Run, they were waiting. 6 unknown ships stayed still. No weapons open, no message came. But power inside them was rising back on the ground. The shadows began to pull back. They slid into the forest and disappeared once more. The force field stayed strong. But everyone knew this was not a retreat. It was a pause. They're done testing, Ren said. Next time they won't come alone. Mara stared at the scanner. They're moving under the ground now. Tunneling where? Under the forest. Direction is toward the east side. That's where the oldest Velari city is. Then we move there. Now, take half the team. Protect that city. The rest stay here and guard the camp before they could board their dropship. Luma tugged at Ren's arm. My brother is there, she said. He was in the city when they came. Can I go too? Ren looked at her. Her eyes were full of fear, but also hope. He knelt beside her. We'll bring him back. You stay here. Watch the sky for us, she nodded and stepped back. The dropship lifted into the dark air. Its lights flashed over the trees as it moved fast toward the eastern side. Ren checked his weapon. The team did the same. No one spoke. They all knew what waited ahead. When they landed near the eastern city, they saw ruins. Buildings pulled apart. Walls melted. The same black marks on the stones, but also signs of life. A weak signal from inside one of the towers. Move in. Quiet and fast. Ren ordered. Soldiers moved through the wreckage. They found survivors. A few Velari had hidden deep in the lower floors. One of them was a young boy. His arms were cut, but he was alive. He looked up at Ren and said, They're not from here. They come from the dark between stars. They eat fear, and they always return. Ren placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. Not this time. He looked out at the dark trees around the city. The wind had picked up again. The silence was gone now. Something was coming and humanity was ready. Captain Ren looked at the boy in front of him. He was weak but breathing. His name was Kale. He had survived 3 days alone in the eastern city. He had hidden in an old stone hall while the shadows moved through the streets above. The other Velari had been taken. His parents were among them. We'll take him back with us, Ren said to Marash. Nodded. No other life signs in the area, but something is still moving underground. The human soldiers helped the survivors into the dropship. Kale sat near the window and looked outside without blinking. He held a small round stone in his hand. It glowed softly. What's that? Ren asked. Kale looked up. It's a light stone. It keeps the dark away. My father gave it to me when I was small. It used to shine brighter. Now it's getting cold. Ren understood. The shadow creatures were not just hunters. They were feeding off energy, maybe light, maybe heat. They drained whatever they touched. Strap. And Ren said, We're going home. As the ship lifted off, the ground below shifted. Trees bent as something moved beneath the soil. A large crack opened near the edge of the ruined city. From it, two shadows climbed out. Taller than the others, their shapes were sharper, more solid. Their heads turned to follow the dropship. They're learning, Mara whispered back at the camp. The Velari gathered around the force field. The children pointed at the sky as the ship returned. When the doors opened, Kale jumped down and ran to Lumash, cried out in joy, and hugged him. He held her tightly and gave her the light stone. It kept me safe, he said. Now it's yours. The human soldiers watched the moment in silence. Even hardened warriors like Ren felt something shift in that moment. This wasn't just a mission anymore. These people were more than just a duty. They were now under human protection, but there was no time to rest. The scanners started flashing again. Mara ran back to the control center. Captain, they're not only underground now. They're spreading. West side of the forest is showing movement. That's where the Velari power tower is. If they drain that, the whole area will go dark. How far? Ren asked. 20 kilometers. Then we move fast. Take to squads. Let's only. No gunfire unless necessary. We need to stop them before they shut down the grid. The power tower was an old Velari design. It stood like a tall silver tree, glowing with slow energy. The tower helped light the nearby cities and boosted the comms field. Without it, no one could call for help. His team moved on foot. The ground was soft and damp. The forest above was silent. No wind, no sound. Just the crunch of boots on old roots. They reached the tower without trouble. But as soon as they stepped near the base, the air grew cold. On soldier, Lynn, raised her hand. "Captain, my lamp just flickered." Ren raised his own light. It was shaking, not from damage, but from something unseen. Then came the movement, slow and sliding. From behind the large roots, the shadows emerged. Not walking, not floating. This time they crawled. Long arms, no faces. Black bodies that bent and shifted. "Hold your line," Ren ordered. "Don't let them get close to the tower." The soldiers formed a circle. Light beams crossed the area, trapping the creatures between them. The shadows stopped moving forward. They turned their heads side to side like they were thinking. Then one of them stepped into the light. It did not burn. It did not vanish. It twisted and saw it clearly. The shadow was changing. It was shaping itself to look like one of the humans. Its arms reshaped, a face formed, not perfect, but close. Captain Mars said through gritted teeth. "They're copying us. Don't break line." Focused lights on that one. The beams focused. The shadow human copy began to shake. Then, with a high-pitched hum, it broke apart and scattered like dust. That gave the others pause. They moved back a little. Ren saw his chance. "Mara, power the field at the base of the tower. If we can light it up, we might push them back for good." "I'll need 2 minutes," she said. Moving fast, the shadows did not wait long. They rushed again, this time in pairs, moving around the beams, using speed. One got close to Lynn. She swung her light and hit it full force. It burst like smoke. Amara yelled out. Now the tower core lit up. A wide wave of bright white light exploded from the base. The ground flashed. The shadows screamed for the first time. A sound like air tearing filled the forest. They turned and ran, all of them, back into the trees. Back underground. When it was over, the humans stood in silence. The tower glowed brighter now. Saffron looked at the path where the shadows had vanished. "They're testing our strength, learning what hurts them." Mar nodded. "And they'll return with something new next time." The team marched back to the camp. When they arrived, the Valari stood waiting. This time, they clapped, a quiet sound, gentle hands coming together. It was their way of showing deep thanks. An elder stepped forward. His body was thin and his eyes wise. "You came when no one else did. Our own council said wait, but you acted. You are not monsters. You are guardians now." And didn't reply with words. He simply bowed his head in respect. That night, the sky stayed clear. No new shadows came. The Valari slept for the first time in days, but on the edge of the system, deep in the cold dark of space. More enemy ships began to arrive, hidden. Watching battle for Yellow was far from over, and the humans were only just beginning to understand what they were facing. The next morning, the forest of Yellow looked calm again. Sunlight passed through the silver leaves. A soft breeze moved the tall trees. Birds returned, but the peace was only on the surface. Captain Ren stood beside the Valari elder near the main camp. Soldiers were checking gear. Engineers were fixing drones. Medics were helping injured Valari. The camp was growing larger, but so was the threat. Ren looked up at the sky. He knew more enemy ships had arrived during the night. He had received silent updates from his fleet in orbit. No attacks yet, but something was coming. Mara approached with a small device in hand. "Captain, I tried again. The Galactic Council still won't respond. I sent full recordings. They thanked us for our help and said to stay out of further conflict. They still think this is a local matter." And didn't look surprised. "They won't act until the danger knocks on their own doors. By then it'll be too late." Mar frowned. "We can't hold this alone forever. These things are learning. They're getting faster, smarter. If they send a full wave, we might not survive it." Ren's voice stayed steady. "Then we give them a reason to fear us. Before that happens." He walked through the camp. Around him, Valari children smiled and waved. Some sat beside Terran engineers, watching them build defense towers. Others followed human medics to learn how to clean wounds. One small Valari girl gave a flower to a soldier, who smiled and placed it on his armor. Thieves were not just refugees anymore. They were trusting the humans. Standing with Themrin climbed a platform and spoke into the comm. This is Captain Ren. To all Terran ships in the region, Operation Haven is now active. This is a rescue and defense mission. I am calling on all human colonies and vessels able to respond. Yellow is under attack by shadow entities. The Galactic Council has refused to help. We will not abandon the innocent. We are humanity, and we will hold this line. His voice went silent. No one answered at first. Then one voice came through. A captain from the Outer Rim said he was bringing to medical ships. Another voice said she was flying a cargo hauler filled with fuel and building tools. More voices followed. Humans were coming by the end of the second day. 5 more ships had entered Yellow's orbit. Not warships, not full fleets, but help. Real help. Doctors, engineers, volunteers, supplies. All human council sent another message to Rin. This time they warned him. They said he was risking balance, that he had no authority, that he should stand down. Rin didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the new east wall where the defenses were being built. The new arrivals were already placing sensor towers and shield generators. Young Velari helped carry cables and tools. Human soldiers taught them how to set up light traps to stop shadows from passing. Mara met him there with a new report. The shadows are not just hiding underground anymore. They're spreading through broken tunnels from the old cities, moving during the day now too. Small groups, testing outer zones. I think they're mapping our positions. Rin's voice stayed calm. Then we do the same. Map them back. Find their entry points. If we can block or destroy their paths, we slow them down. He sent 3 scout teams out into the forests, each with a small Velari guide. The locals knew the land better than any scanner. The teams moved fast, and Quietone team returned before sunset. The others were still out. The first team had found something strange. A deep pit hidden beneath fallen trees. Black stone all around the edges. At the bottom, shadows came and went without climbing. They simply appeared and vanished. It's a gate, Rin said as he looked at the images. A kind of tunnel between worlds, maybe even another dimension. This is how they move so fast. Mara stared at the readings. We could try to seal it, use a pulse. Mine or gravity shock? No, Rin shook his head. Not yet. We need to find more gates. If we act as soon, they'll hide the rest. We learn first, then strike. The second team returned at night. No losses, but strange news. They found a group of shadow creatures standing still, not moving, just standing in a circle around a stone. The Velari guide said it was an old song stone used in rituals. They're not just hunting, Rin said. They're studying this place. Maybe the Velari have something they want back at the camp. Kale sat near the fire with his sister Luma. They listened to a human soldier named Bren tell stories of Earth. He told them about snow and mountains and cities that floated on water. Kale asked, "Is your world also full of danger?" Bren smiled. "Yes, but it also makes strong people who never leave others behind." The sky rumbled. A small quake hit the ground. The lights flickered for one moment. All heads turned to the forest. The shadows had returned, but this time they were not many. Just 3, moving slowly, as if not to attack, but to observe. And gave the order not to fire. He walked forward with 2 guards, stood 10 meters from the barrier, and watched the shadows approach. Owen stopped at the edge of the shield. Its form shimmered. It changed shape, not into a human this time, but into a Velari, a perfect copy of Luma's mother. Gasped and grabbed her brother's hand. "It's not her," Rin said without turning. Shadow stood still. Then its head turned. Slowly, it looked right at Luma and stepped forward and placed himself between the girl and the creature. "You're not welcome here," he said. Shadow tilted its head, then slowly melted into the air. Other to follow. Wetlands returned, but everyone knew it was a warning. Mara whispered, "They're trying to break our minds now. Not just our bodies." "They won't," Rin said, "because we're not afraid to stand alone." That night, he sent one final message to the council. "You don't need to come. We are already here, and we are enough humans. We're building more than just walls. We're building hope." The air was thick with tension. For days, the humans and Velari had prepared defenses, but none of them knew exactly how to fight the shadows. The enemy was strange and silent. It could disappear and reappear like smoke. No one had ever faced anything like it before. Captain Rin gathered his closest officers. In the command tent, maps of the forest cities lay on the table. Sensors showed movements underground and near the gates. But still, the shadows had not attacked directly. We need information, Rin said firmly. We need to understand what we are fighting. We cannot win by force alone. Lieutenant Mara nodded. Our scans picked up something new last night. Near the old Velari temple, a shape moved slowly, different from the others. It looked like a creature, but it was dark and flickered like a broken signal. Rin rubbed his chin. Then that is our target. We capture it. Learn from it. He called for a small team. Soldiers trained for stealth, engineers ready with special equipment. They named the mission Shadowcatch. Night was cold when they moved out. Luma and Kale watched from the camp, hoping for success. The team moved quietly through the forest. Light was dim. Only the small lamps on their helmets cut the darkness. The shadows seemed to avoid their path. After 1 hour, they reached the ruins of the old temple. The walls were cracked, strange symbols carved deep into stone. The air was cold, colder than usual. The shadows were closer now. Suddenly, a shape flickered near the entrance. It was tall, thin, and black. It moved with strange grace. The soldiers froze. Captain Rin raised a hand. Hold steady. Wait for my signal. The shadow flickered again, then stopped. Its form began to change slow. It shaped itself into a figure. A broken machine, a twisted body, its head lifted. No eyes, no mouth, just a dark, smooth surface of the engineers. Vesa pointed a device at it. This is a containment field. If it works, it will trap the shadow without harm. Rin nodded. Ready when you are. The shadow moved suddenly, faster than expected. It lunged at the team now. Rin shouted. Vesa activated the device. A blue energy net shot forward. It wrapped the shadow quickly. The creature screamed a sound like breaking glass and tried to escape. But the field held tight. Soldiers fired light beams round the field, keeping the shadow in place. It writhed and changed shape, but it could not break free. Bring it to the ship. Rin ordered. They moved carefully back to the camp. The shadow fought and twisted. Sometimes it looked like smoke, sometimes like liquid, but the field held strong. The camp, scientists, and engineers surrounded the containment area. They studied the shadow through thick glass and sensors. The Velari watched from a distance, curious and afraid. After hours of study, the truth came clear. This is not a living creature, Vesa said. It is a machine, an ancient weapon designed to hunt and capture energy sources. Mara added. It has no master. It follows old programming. It takes energy and moves on. Rin thought about the Velari's light stones, the small glowing stones that kept the shadows away. This machine must drain energy to survive. To move, then our defenses work, Rin said quietly. The light stones and our barriers give us strength. The Velari elders came forward. One spoke slowly. This machine is from a war long forgotten. It was left behind by those who wished to destroy worlds. We did not know it. Survivor looked at the shadow in the field. It writhed and hissed, but it was trapped for now. This is our chance, he said. We can stop them, not just defend, but fight back the next day. The humans and Velari prepared for battle. New light towers were built near the city edges. Soldiers carried light weapons that could disrupt shadow forms. Engineers worked on more containment devices and sent a message to the fleet in orbit. Prepare for attack. We have the weapon. Now we must break the enemies. Will the shadows return that night? This time with fury. They came in large numbers, moving fast, attacking the outer towers, trying to break the defenses. But the humans were ready. Light beams flashed. Energy nets captured many of the creatures. The Velari used their light stones to create safe zones in the middle of the battle. Rin saw the captured shadow and its field begin to pulse. Blue sparks flew around it. The machine inside fought back, sending out a shock wave. With wave hit several soldiers. They stumbled but did not fall. Their armor held. Rin raised his voice. Keep fighting. Do not lose ground. The shadow's pulse grew stronger. Suddenly, it exploded in a burst of light. The energy wave hit the shadows round. Many vanished. Others recoiled in pain. Enemies' force began to break. The battle continued for hours. But the tide had turned. The shadows fled from the light, and the humans' courage at dawn. The forest was quiet again. The humans and Velari counted their losses. Some soldiers were hurt, but no one was lost. Luma ran to Rin. You did it. You saved us. Rin smiled softly. We did it. Together the Velari elders thanked the humans. Their eyes shone with hope for the first time in many nights. The stars above Yellow seemed less dark. The humans had won the first victory. They had captured the enemy's weapon and used it against them, but Rin knew this was only the beginning. The shadows would return, stronger and smarter, looked at the sky and whispered, "We will be ready." The calm after the first victory was short-lived. Captain Rin stood on the bridge of the Talon Spear and watched the dark shapes appear on the sensor screen. The shadows had returned, but this time, they were not alone. Far above Yellow, the silence of space was broken by the arrival of a swarm. Hundreds of black ships moved together in a tight formation. They were fast, silent, and deadly. The Shadow Fleet was here to finish the fight. Rin felt the weight of the moment. This was no longer a simple defense. It was a battle for survival. Alert. All ships, Rin ordered. Prepare for full engagement. This is the last stand. The Terran fleet powered up every weapon. The Iron Lance and Storm Nest joined the Talon Spear in tight formation. Their crews were ready and calm, trained for moments like this. Every soldier knew the risks, but stood firm. Down on Yellow, the Velari watched the skies nervously. Their peaceful world was about to become a battlefield. They trusted the humans who had come to protect them. But the fear was clear in their eyes. Rin looked to Lieutenant Mara. Keep the shields up. We cannot let a single ship slip through. Mara nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. Shields at maximum. Weapons online. Targeting the incoming fleet, the enemy ships fired first. Dark beams of energy ripped through space, aiming to disable the human fleet before close combat. The Terran ships moved quickly, dodging and returning fire with bright pulses of light. The battle was fierce. Lasers crossed the void like lightning. Explosions rocked the ships. Smoke and fire filled the void between stars. Rin stayed focused. Hold your positions. Focus on the lead ships. If we take down their commanders, the rest will scatter. The Iron Lance's guns blazed, striking the largest enemy ship. It shuddered, then exploded into pieces. The Shadow Fleet faltered for a moment, but the enemy was not defeated. More ships poured from hidden positions. They swarmed like a dark cloud, pressing the humans hard. The Velari, watching from below, could see the stars light up with fire. It was the most violent sight they had ever witnessed. Yet, even in fear, they did not lose hope. Back on the ground, the human and Velari forces prepared for the worst. Soldiers manned the light towers. Engineers repaired shields. The Velari carried children to safe shelters. Rin sent a message to every human ship in the system. This is a fight for every life here. Do not falter. We stand together or fall alone. The battle stretched on for hours. Energy shields flickered. Weapons overheated. But the humans did not give in. In the middle of the fight, a small Velari ship flew low. It carried a group of scientists who worked with human engineers. They launched a new device, a pulse bomb designed to disrupt the Shadow ship's energy fields. The device exploded near the enemy swarm. A wave of bright light swept through space. Many Shadow ships began to lose power and drift helplessly. Rin saw the chance. All ships concentrate fire on the disabled enemy vessels. The human fleet pushed forward. One by one, Shadow ships broke apart in explosions of light and dark debris. The enemy fleet tried to regroup but was too damaged. It broke formation and fled into the darkness beyond the system. Rin breathed deeply. We won the day on Yellow. The Velari cheered softly. The humans had stood firm when no one else would. They had saved a world that could not save itself. Rin looked up at the stars. The sky was still full of smoke and light from the battle, but it also held promise. He turned to Mara. This fight is over, but the war is not. We must be ready. She nodded, and we will be. The fleet began repairs. The camp grew quieter. Velari and humans worked side by side. They shared stories, hopes, and dreams of a better future. The day the Deathworlder fleet became alien rescuers was written in the stars. It was a day when fear was met with courage, darkness was met with light, and a new chapter began for humanity and the galaxy. The battle had ended. The stars above Yellow were clear and bright. The black ships of the Shadow Fleet had vanished beyond the system. The dark cloud that had threatened to consume the planet was lifted, but the scars of war remained. Captain Wren stood on the landing platform, watching the sunrise over the silver forests. The light touched the tall trees and made them sparkle like crystals. The air was fresh, the birds sang again. Life was returning to Yellow. Beside him, Luma and Kale walked slowly. They were no longer frightened children. The lightstones in their hands glowed warmly. The Velari had started to heal. Wren smiled softly. "You are brave. You have survived what few could." Luma looked up. "You saved us, not just with weapons, but with hope." Wren nodded. "Hope is the strongest shield of all." The camp was busy with activity. Humans and Velari worked side by side, rebuilding homes and planting new gardens. The engineers repaired the broken towers and strengthened the shields around the cities. Lieutenant Mara joined Wren. "The fleet is ready to leave orbit. We have done what we came to do." Wren shook his head. "Not yet. Yellow is safe, but it will take time for the Velari to trust peace again. We stay a while longer." A message came through on the comm. It was from the Galactic Council. "Captain Wren, your actions have saved Yellow. The Council will review the situation. You are authorized to establish a protection zone around the planet." Wren looked at Mara. "They finally see us." Mara smiled. It took a battle to make them listen. The Velari elders gathered in the main hall. Their voices were calm but full of gratitude. "You came when others would not. You fought when others would hide. We will never forget your courage." Wren bowed his head in respect. "It was not just me. It was all of us. Humans and Velari together." Kale stepped forward. "My sister and I have learned much. Your lightstones will help us guard our homes, and your strength gives us new hope." Wren looked at the young Velari. "You have a bright future. We will help you build it." As days passed, the bond between humans and Velari grew stronger. Children played together. Songs mixed in the air. The forest was alive with laughter. One evening, Wren and Mara stood at the edge of the forest. The stars shone bright above. "Do you think the shadows will return?" Mara asked. Wren thought for a moment. "Perhaps, but we have shown them that we will not be afraid, that we will fight for those who cannot fight for themselves." Mara smiled. "We became more than soldiers here. We became protectors." Wren nodded. "Yes, and that is what humanity is meant to be." The fleet prepared to leave. But the promise to the Velari remained. Humans would watch over Yellow until peace was sure. The day the Deathworlder fleet became alien rescuers was more than a battle. It was a new beginning. And under the bright stars, a new dawn rose for Yellow and for humanity's place among the stars.